Dank times, Danker thoughts, sweet vibes and taking it sleazy. The dankness is taking over, nonsense is dancing through his mind. Oh, the dankness is taking over. Dank times, Danker thoughts with Angelo.
Yo, it's me, Angelo, and welcome to Dank Times, Danker Thoughts, episode 71. First off, I want to say, I've been on a real hot sauce kick lately, and I want to call out two sauces that has changed the game for me. The first is Trader Joe's Spicy Honey. It has chili pepper sauce in there too. The idea of a very chili, spicy honey kind of grossed me out, but I thought, I'm game. I bought it, and I've been putting that shit on everything. Not too much, because it is still honey, but ooh, it makes breakfast so much better. I put it on enchiladas the other night, just because I was fucking around, you know. Ooh, I even put some on some gyozas the other night. I mean, I love that shit. Now, the other one is Sweet Baby Ray's buffalo wing sauce. Hoo-wee! That is like a very sweet but spicy, but it's more sweet. I mean, my mouth is watering just thinking of that. I don't know why, but it has this kind of cherry flavor to it. And I put that shit on some potatoes and eggs that I cooked, and oh my god, I loved it. I was this close to putting the whole bottle in my mouth and just chugging it down like it's titty milk, but I would have died because that Sweet Baby Ray sauce is so decadently good. If you get too much, it ruins it. It overpowers it, and it doesn't really taste like anything because it numbs your mouth. It doesn't numb it for too long. It's kind of like a little firecracker, a little pop pop. It's really loud and bright and sparkly for a couple seconds, then it's done. That's kind of what this Sweet Baby Ray sauce is. So, if you're in the mood for some spiciness in your life, try the spicy honey and the Sweet Baby Ray's buffalo wing sauce. I'm not getting paid to do any of this. I just want to say that I recommend it and that I liked it, and maybe you'll like it too. I mean, I cannot think of enough things to put that shit on. My mouth is watering just thinking about what I can do with that stuff. I really should be in charge of writing commercials. I feel like most people would love to see commercials directed by me because I would make them so realistic, and it'd be a very dry, witty sense of humor. But there would also be a level of dumminess to it. I think I could really embrace both the upper class in terms of comedy, the stiff upper lips, if you will, and I could also get the middle America, if you will, the Roseanne fans. You know what I'm talking about? The Big Bang Theory fans, those kind of people. And dare I say, I would even get the people who think comedy's funny unless they get offended by a joke, and so then they have to ruin that comedian's career. Those people, I think I could even make laugh a little bit. I'm just that funny, I think. I really am. I'm a Renaissance man. If I really wanted to devote my life to it, who knows? Who knows? But now I feel like I'm being a little bit too narcissistic here, so let's move on. What's going on with me, besides hot sauce and chili honey, is during that crazy windstorm we had on Friday night. I don't know how it was for y'all, but for me, about 10:30, 10:45 at night, I heard a very loud splintering crash outside. It sounded like I was in Isengard and the Ents were attacking. There's a little Lord of the Rings dumb fuck humor for you. See, I told you I can do it everything. I can do it all, baby. I can do it all. But my stoned ass thought, well, that sounds like someone else's problem. Ha ha ha. And then I proceeded to fall asleep with no thoughts or concerns at all to what actually was happening outside. Well, that loud splintering explosion sound turns out to be one of my trees shattered in the storm, and luckily it fell, I believe, north, away from the house, landed in a smaller but equally big maple tree. I don't know what the tree that fell was. I'm drawing a blank on it. But it hit a maple tree. Thank goodness the maple tree stopped the majority of it. But the piece that splintered off must have been, I'm guessing, 80 or 90 feet tall. But I didn't measure shit. But it seemed pretty goddamn tall to me. And it shattered the fence between me and my neighbor and just left so much debris and fucking garbage in the neighbor's yard. So, because I'm nice to people, and for some reason people like me, I have tree cutting friends. And one of them is a licensed arborist who also owns a tree cutting service. So I gave him a call, and I expected him to say, well, I don't know if I can get it over to it anytime soon because I'm booked. That's what I was expecting to hear. But I was hoping maybe in that instance he could recommend somebody to me, or at least point me in the right direction, because I've never had to deal with this shit before. I have a little tiny Black & Decker chainsaw that works well for little branches, but I mean, this tree that fell, I need like an industrial strength chainsaw. I don't even know where to go to get something like that. Well, obviously a hardware store, but anyway, these are the thoughts I was having. And things like this make me question if there really is a God. He said, oh, no problem at all. I'll come over tomorrow morning and we'll sort it all out. And I thought, good God. I pinched myself because I thought I was dreaming. Sure enough, he came over Sunday. The job was so much more than what he thought because it was just him. He did bring his wood chipper, but there was no way that wood chipper was going down to my backyard. I know none of y'all know what my backyard looks like, but there's no way you could get a vehicle back there. It ain't happening. So he and I spent pretty much all day Sunday, and I'm talking in the pouring rain. We cut up that tree, cleared it out of my neighbor's yard, chucked everything in my yard, and he did his best to cut up the large section of the tree. There's still, God, I mean, heaps and heaps. I mean, if I stacked all the wood and leaves and debris that fell, it'd probably be 25, 30 feet tall. There was so much shit. And just this cross section of a tree, it's amazing. It's almost beautiful in a sense. And it's very humbling how destructive nature is. I mean, just a piece of tree falling caused so much motherfucking damage. And to show the resilience of nature, that maple tree that got taken out, once we cleaned it up, it was already starting to look green today. And this is a couple days after a fucking giant spruce land on it. Is it a spruce, that tree? I don't fucking know. I should know, but whatever. It killed my Sunday. I missed the majority of the Seahawks game, which turns out I did not miss much. I was able to see the collapse, so lucky me. What a great Sunday. But Jesus, I mean, the bottom section of my yard now is just strewn with leaves and all that shit. So that's going to be another project. It's just more icing on the cake of dog shit that is this house. Well, I shouldn't be so dramatic. This house will at least be a great investment, which it already has proven to be. But the maintenance and the constant bullshit. I'm all for learning, people. I'm all for having to financially and mentally and, dare I say, spiritually invest in something like home ownership. You're not renting. If something fucks up, it's your responsibility. And that scares me a lot of the time, but other times I embrace that challenge. LaFonda, could you be any motherfucking louder? That's what I thought. And I was game, I thought, for the challenges of home ownership. But of course, I did not think of what to do when a 80 to 100 foot tree section crashes into my neighbor's yard. What am I going to do with the sprinkler system? What am I going to do with some of the garage issues I've had about the, just a headache. It's been a headache. But some of it's been fun. However, a lot of it has been a constant punt in my cunt. I'm over it. Now I'm thinking, what if I don't get married I'm thinking 3 to 4 years, I got to be dumping this house because this is too much. I'll be almost 40 by then. Oh, God. I'll go to the rickety stool in the new store. I'm kidding, of course. But if I don't meet someone soon and could get some help on this, because I love working outside. I love taking care of the house inside. And I get set in a routine, but it's when something crazy happens is when I just kind of turn to shit, you know. I turn into one of those stereotypical housewives of the 1950s that would see a rodent or a mouse scurry across the kitchen. She'd jump up on the counter and go, ew! That's kind of me whenever something that I can't predict goes wrong in this house. Even if it's something simple, like a light bulb goes out, but it's a type of light bulb that I've never seen before, I just get this little level of panic in me. But in that scenario, it's not that big of a deal. But I'm telling you, I've been putting off some shit because I just don't want to fucking deal with it. Like, I've been having a hose problem in the front yard for months. And I do what I can, but it's not working. But I get so stressed about who to even call about an issue like this. Luckily, I have some buddies who have come over and helped in the past, which it looks like we fixed it, but then something else goes wrong with it, and I don't even know what to do. So they're due to come back and help me. But again, it's just, I get so stressed and anxious just thinking about the fucking hose in the front yard. I don't know what it is. But then when I think of like the gardening aspect of it, or buying new shit, or new painting, or new appliances, or new electrical things, I get really excited. But it's the shit that I've never had to deal with that I just turned to a panicking housewife of the 1950s. I don't know why that image is not leaving my mind here, but anyway, I would tell this to potential home buyers. Think about the unexpected things, even little details. Like, I really wish I would have checked the water pressure in all of the sinks and the bathrooms in the house before I bought it. Check the water tank stuff. Check the heating. See if I can actually get into the attic, which I still haven't figured it out, and I've been here almost 2 years. Figure out what's the deal with the sprinkler system that you've never had to deal with in your life. You know, shit like that. Things that you never would think about. Oh yeah, when you see all those giant fucking trees in your yard, yeah, it's peaceful and it's beautiful and you hear them swaying in the wind and they attract beautiful birds and squirrels and you just love the sound of nature. That's what you focus on because you're fucking stupid. Now that you have a little bit of experience, I would tell people, yeah, all of that is true with that tree, but also think of the maintenance. That shit's gonna fall. I've been mowing the lawn sometimes and I go out to mow and I find a giant branch that just had fallen overnight and I think, what the fuck, what if I was mowing the lawn? That motherfucker would have caved my head in. So, that's what I tell people. Don't just look at the surface. If you see something and you can appreciate it, but then your second thought should be, okay, that's cool. That garbage disposal is pretty cool. But if something went wrong with it, how would I fix it? Or who would I even call? You know, these are things that no one thinks about. At least I don't. And I assume everyone's as retarded as me, but who knows? Anyway, cool beans. Let's move on to our first topic, shall we? What the hell is going on in politics? But before we jump into politics, let me do something that I don't normally do. Praise billionaires. And I rarely ever praise one specific billionaire, and that is a Jeff Bezos. However, I do have to give that slanty-eyed, AI-looking, Lex Luthor Jr.-looking motherfucker some credit. Just the other day, he pledges to spend $1 billion on conservation efforts in the Congo, the Andes, and the tropical Pacific Ocean. Now, I know some of your knee-jerk reactions will be, just $1 billion? Isn't he worth, like, 500 billion? I just made that number up. I actually don't know what his wealth is. Well, what is Jeff Bezos' wealth? Hold on. Jeff Bezos' wealth. How much is he worth? 200 billion. 200.5 billion. Okay. So, yeah, 1 billion, and when you have 200 billion, I can understand people say, is that all? But it's better than fucking nothing. Jeff Bezos will spend $1 billion to conserve land and aquatic ecosystems, according to the Bezos Earth Fund, the Amazon founder's $10 billion environmental philanthropy. The new pledge brings the Earth Fund's commitment thus far to nearly $2 billion, including more than $200 million in grants announced earlier this month, largely targeting grassroots environmental justice groups. The Earth Fund will concentrate on ecosystems in the Congo Basin, the tropical Andes, and the tropical Pacific Ocean, and aim to support indigenous peoples and local communities who often bear the brunt of stewarding such conservation efforts. The vast majority of the world's biodiversity is located in tropical regions, leading some scientists to argue that conservation efforts should be focused there rather than temperate zones. In a statement, Bezos lauded the centuries-long march of scientific and technological progress as resulting in lower global poverty rates and infant mortality and increased life expectancies and educational attainment. But there is a notable exception, he said. The natural world is not better today than it was 500 years ago when we enjoyed unspoiled forests, clean rivers, and the pristine air of the pre-industrial age. We can and must reverse this anomaly. By coming together with the right focus and ingenuity, we can have both the benefits of our modern lives and a thriving natural world. Bezos also challenged others to make their own pledge to protect and conserve nature and help in this fight against climate change. A job this big needs many allies. Earlier Monday, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates announced that he has raised more than $1 billion in corporate backing for Breakthrough Energy Catalyst, his vehicle funding clean energy startup. Well, again, I can understand those of you that say just $1 billion, you have $200 billion. It's a step in the right direction. Do I think that this cancels out all the other bullshit that he and Bill Gates have done? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But, like I said, it's a step in the right direction. And hopefully that $1 billion going to those groups in those areas actually makes a difference. I'd like to think it will. I hope that he's just not sending out Amazonian people out there so that you can set up new warehouses to reach new markets. Wouldn't that be something? And I like it. I support this. I've always said if I had Jeff Bezos' money, I would basically be a superhero. I would be your Bruce Wayne, your Tony Stark of the world. I would try to buy the entire Amazon. I would try to buy the Great Barrier Reef off of Australia. I would try to buy and conserve as much land as possible. I would try to go to some overfishing areas, predominantly around China and Japan, and tell them, hey, what do I have to do to get y'all to stop overfishing? I think once the oceans are depleted, we don't stand a fucking chance in this world. In fact, I've started to watch a new series on Disney with Jeremy Wade, the River Monsters guy. He's got a new show out. I'm trying to blank on the name, so good advertising, Angelo. But 3 episodes so far, and he deals with searching for one type of animal, but he also goes through the history of that animal in the area where he's looking. The first episode was in Iceland. Beautiful episode, and a lot of that episode was spent on the steps the Icelandic government have taken to ensure the safety of migrating fish, predominantly salmon. The whole episode was around, was it Chinook salmon or wild salmon? I don't remember what kind of salmon, but there was trout in the episode too, pike, a bunch of shit. But I really wish America and some other countries that fish as much as we do, and the Scandinavians and a lot of the Asian countries, I wish that we took some of the laws that Iceland has in place for their salmon and spread it around everywhere. The second episode was in the Amazon. The second episode, where the fuck was the second episode? It doesn't matter. The point being, I recommend the show. I don't know what it's called. But if you go on Disney Plus, it should be right on the front page. It's brand new. But I like this idea of billionaires using their money for environmental charity, in a sense, because God knows we need it in this time. But do you know, besides that, there's not really much going on in the world of politics. It's all about those poor Haitians that are getting rope tied like they're fucking cattle in a rodeo. And of course, there's the Havana syndrome that's been going around. I don't know what the hell's going on there. It's crazy to me that people are getting sick from some kind of echolocation level of illnesses, and they're calling it Havana. That bodes well for U.S. and Cuba relations. Biden is currently doing his thing at the United Nations. I heard some of his speech. It was okay. I still got to say, as much as President Biden has surpassed even my wildest aspirations for him in his first year, when I hear him talk and I see him talk, it's kind of painful for me. He just looks old, and sometimes he looks senile. Am I saying that he has dementia or early onset Alzheimer's? No, not quite, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes down the Ronald Reagan route. So this begs the question, who will run in 2024 for the Democrats if it's not going to be Biden? He's already said he wants to, and if he somehow gets some kind of mental clarity back, and so that when he talks, it's not like you're visiting your great-grandfather in a hospice care, and actually sounds like a well-spoken human being. And I understand he's got a stutter and all that bullshit, whatever. I'm not beating up on the old man, but he's old. Kamala Harris has the worst approval rating out of any vice president in forever. And plus, nobody likes her. She can go fuck herself. Awful, awful, awful vice president candidate. If the Democrats want to be smart, they should pick someone who is just outside of the corporate, moderate Democrat line. You know, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Buttigiegs, I'm drawing a blank. There's tons of those assholes. You got to get away from that. I understand then you don't also want to go to the too far progressives. Personally, I don't think progressive candidates are far left. I think they're left. Whereas I think politicians like the Bidens and the Obamas of the world tend to be the corporate moderate. They're more corporate than anything. They really don't give a fuck about poor working class or the middle class. They really don't. There's not much difference between the moderate Democrats and all of the Republicans. So I'll be honest, on paper, besides, of course, my go-to in Bernie Sanders, but he may be too old at this point, and as much as I dislike Elizabeth Warren, I don't think she would stand a chance in the general election against any Republican. I don't really know who the Democrats are going to throw out there. I really don't. I know Andrew Yang is talking about a third party. That's all but doomed. I don't think AOC or any of the squad are ready, nor do I think that they would do well in the general election. Bernie would, but I don't know. He sounds better than Biden does at this moment, but who knows? A lot could change. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Democrats do something stupid and say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to nominate Michelle Obama and then throw on there a Buttigieg as a VP, something crazy like that. And the Republicans, I don't think they're going to go the Trump route again. I just don't. I used to, but not anymore. I've changed it. I changed my mind. I don't even think it's going to be Donald Trump Jr. I think it might actually be a Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis ticket. And that concerns me very much so, because I don't think there's anyone outside of Bernie Sanders that can compete with a Mike Pence DeSantis ticket. Now, you may say to yourself, but everybody hates DeSantis. Not really. I've seen a lot of polls outside of Florida. His approval rating is higher than it is in Florida. I don't know about Abbott. I don't know about some of the other kind of quote-unquote popular Republicans out there, including the Marjorie Taylor Greene scum, the pedophile Matt Gaetz, the traitor Josh Hawleys of the world. They, I don't think, would do well at all. And I'm telling you, though, the Republican right and the evangelical really adore themselves some Mike Pence. And the fact that he went against Trump for the most part on the January 6th thing really opened up a lot of people's eyes. Personally, I hate the man. Personally, I dislike the man as much as when you bite the inside of your cheek and for the next 3 days, whenever you eat, you kind of have to watch that corner of your mouth because the insane agony of when you bite down on it and it hurts so goddamn bad you get tears in your eyes and you know that that bite is going to make that pain last for another couple days. That's Mike Pence to me. But I really don't know who the Democrats have right now. So I hope I'm wrong, because I do not want to have the Republicans win again. But I'm not really a fan of the corporate Democrats either. And I think if the Democrats are smart and can actually read the country, they will pick someone like a Bernie Sanders. You know, maybe a Katie Porter. I think she would be great. First thing came to mind. If Nina Turner won, I think she would be great. So there's a few, maybe. There's a few. And I know that a lot of those corporate Dems like Stacey Abrams. I'm 50-50 on her. I have to look at her more in depth in terms of her standings on things. But on paper, there is nobody on the Democrat side that I would get excited about. Well, I should say mainstream. And I look at the Republicans and all of them kind of chill me to the bone. So I don't really know what's going to happen in 2024. I have my suspicions. I think I gave some pretty good candidates for the Republican ticket. And I'm telling you, don't be shocked if the Democrats throw Michelle Obama on there, because people love Michelle Obama. I am not even a huge fan of Barack Obama, but I like Michelle Obama. But I have no idea where she stands on things, but maybe that's not important anymore. I mean, you talk to any Trump supporters in 2016, and you actually ask them, what do you like about Donald Trump? Most of them could not even put a coherent sentence together to describe why they support that orange Cheeto. So, fuck if I know. But anyway, I was rambling there. So kudos to Jeff Bezos and the conservation. Kudos to Joe Biden for getting a lot of shit done. I know that budget reconciliation, non-person, whatever, that they said no to the immigration plan, which is, I don't know much about it. I know that we were trying to give citizenship to a bunch of people, but that got nixed. And I see today we nixed a $1 billion Israel Iron Dome, whatever that is, from our bill to avert a shutdown. So again, I don't know everything about that, but anytime we're taking money away from Israel, my knee-jerk reaction is to say, yes, finally. But then I read that it's a short-term thing just to get this thing passed, and then they will address it later. So we probably still will give Israel money. And I really shouldn't speak like that because I have no idea what that money was going to be used for. I just hear Israel Iron Dome. Fuck if I know. But let's see. Someone named Hoyer says the Israel removal of Iron Dome funding is a technical postponement only. So, who knows? And last thing I'll say about politics, Eric Trump's lawyers fired him, so that's a good sign. Enough about politics. I think we're done. I really don't have much on the docket here with sports. I already kind of lamented the Seahawks loss. The Seattle Mariners are still killing me, but as I'm recording this, we're still 3 games out of the playoffs with 10 games to go, and we're on a 2-game win streak, and we're currently playing the Oakland A's, who are right there with us, neck and neck for that last playoff spot. So you're telling me there's still a chance, is basically the Seattle Mariners right now. I don't think we stand more than a 10% chance to make the playoffs at this point. We've already overexceeded expectations. I already have said that this year, to me, has been a massive success. And we're going to go a little bit buck wild in free agency, I hope. We have tons of money and tons of needs, so I'm excited for free agency and baseball. So, enough of that. Let's move on to some fun stuff here. I mentioned this last podcast about my top movie deaths, meaning the most emotional, the ones that stuck with me, the ones that I will never forget, even from early on in childhood. In fact, I explicitly remember the very first death scene that fucked me up as a child. I mean, I must have been 2 or 3 years old. I remember this because it's one of my first memories overall in life. My parents were still together at my father's house, and I don't know what was going on, but we had some family over at the house, and I was watching the very old movie The Blob. I don't remember what year, sometime in the 50s. Or it might have been a remake, I don't know. But I remember watching The Blob, and spoiler alert, the ending of the movie, they kill the Blob. And I remember watching the Blob's death scene, and it was making this ungodly death rattle. And I just started crying and crying and crying. So much, in fact, that it kind of ruined the party. My dad picked me up and took me outside and said, "What's going on?" And my sister went with me, too, now that I think about it. And I was just sobbing about, oh, the monster died, the Blob died. So even as a kid, I was rooting for the monster or the bad guy to kill these stupid, horny-ass teenagers. But I still remember the sound the Blob was making as it was dying. And it was horrific. I still remember like I just heard it. I don't know, but I think from that moment on, I was a very emotional movie watcher. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm emotional in general. I can cry at the drop of a hat. Is that a saying? Drop of a hat? I can cry at the drop of a hat? That doesn't sound like it's a real saying. I feel like I just made that up. I feel like I can cry at the drop of a hat. Well, what I'm trying to say is it does not take much to make me cry, and in fact, I can go from laughing to sobbing within seconds. And it's not just sad stuff that gets me. Happy stuff. Okay, just those two things. Happy and sad, that's about it. And movies have always done that to me. Music, books, video games, commercials, sports. I even cry. This is embarrassing, but I even will tear up. I shouldn't say cry. There's a difference between crying and tearing up. The majority of the time, I do get tears in my eyes, but it takes something special to actually make me cry. So to me, I will say if my eyes start to water and a tear escapes my eye, technically that is crying. But if my eyes get watery and nothing leaves my eyes, I don't consider that crying. For the sake of this list I'm about to read off, and just in my life as a whole, that's what constitutes crying to me. But like I was saying, I'm not too embarrassed to say that if I see a house plant or something I planted outside bloom and it's doing really well and it's got flowers that are beautiful and, dare I say, even their scent is good, I will get a little bit teary-eyed at just the beauty of the nature around me. But I have actually cried at art museums. I have cried in operas. I have cried in stage plays. I've cried in concerts. I think the only venue that I have not cried in has been stand-up comedy. Maybe my eyes get watery from laughing, but that's about it. But enough of this. Enough about the semantics here. Let's actually talk about your boy's top death scenes in movies that made me sad as a motherfucker and just cry. Now, these are not ranked in order, but these are at least the movies that I can think of and I found online that I would say have made me just go beyond sobbing. I mean, hysterical crying. Maybe I even throw myself on the ground like a real Italian greaseball. But okay. Atonement. The movie itself is really good, but okay, there are going to be a lot of spoilers on this list, obviously, because I'm talking about characters dying. Keira Knightley and James McAvoy's characters die during World War, is it I? And the way that it's revealed to you is so fucking cruel. We were led to believe that they made it out and that everything was hunky-dory. And then you find out that Keira Knightley's little bitch-ass sister is now an old woman, is lying about everything. Actually, they both died. And you see how they actually died. And it's not heroic. It's not brave. It's just normal. They're just like everybody else during wartime. I'm starting to get teary-eyed just thinking about the fucking thing. Now, these next two movies, I saw these in movie theaters. Quite packed movie theaters, I should add. And both death scenes caused the entire movie theater to gasp. But only one had people actually moaning or sobbing or groaning. Collateral and The Departed, those two movies. Now, The Departed, of course, the big death, the big shocking death is DiCaprio's head getting exploded in the elevator. When I saw that live, I even almost threw up on myself because I was so shocked. And there was equal shock among the entire movie theater. However, the groans and the moans and like people got fucked up watching Collateral when Mark Ruffalo's character died. I do not know why, but it was so shocking. But I think for whatever reason, people really gravitated towards Mark Ruffalo's detective in that movie. And if I'm being honest, I became a big Mark Ruffalo fan because of Collateral. But yeah, hearing people literally sob in their chairs when Mark Ruffalo's character got killed so unceremoniously leaving that club, I will never forget that. I'm going to skip some of these because these are near the top. Denzel Washington's character getting killed in Glory. Fuck. I can't watch that movie. It's too depressing, number one. But just his character arc in that movie, and you finally know him. You finally know him. You know he's not just a soldier. And then he does something brave. And, you can hear me. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. So Denzel Washington in Glory. Jesus, I'm really crying here. Old Yeller. Oh, fuck. That goddamn dog gets me every time. I would rather see children and nuns and the elderly shot and pushed into a fucking corpse hole than watching animals be killed. Thankfully, they didn't show it. You didn't need to see it, but Old Yeller probably has ruined countless generations of people's lives. From book to film. Speaking of book to film, Lenny of Mice and Men, John Malkovich did a hell of a job as Lenny. And, oh, God. I may need to take a break here. I'm starting to really get teary-eyed and my nose is getting plugged up here. But yeah, Lenny of Mice and Men. It's sad as fuck in the book, sad as fuck on film. Now, Disney has marketed ruining children's lives in terms of seeing parent characters dying in movies. But these three parents dying did it to me. First one, very cliche, but Bambi. Bambi's mom dying made me never want to hunt an animal in my life. And to this day, I haven't. Dumbo's mom. Technically, Dumbo's mom did not die. But she's dying, and they separated Dumbo, and it's horrific. It's horrific. And that pile of shit remake that they did a couple years ago was such a bad fucking movie. But one of the worst things about it is they used actual elephant sounds when they separated Dumbo from its mother in the remake, and hearing actual authentic elephant wailing sounds was just too much. It was just too much. And of course, another standard, Mufasa from The Lion King. Seeing that as a child just it revolutionized how evil characters could be on film. Fucking Scar, man, what an asshole. And Bubba from Forrest Gump. I have watched Forrest Gump easily 20 times, but every time Bubba dies, I'm uncontrollable. I'm inconsolable. You cannot tell me not to cry during that scene. You just can't do it. Artax from Never Ending Story. See, the animal deaths get me so much more than most human characters' deaths. And when I saw the Never Ending Story, probably far too young, watching Artax succumb to that mud pool of sadness or or swamp of sadness, whatever it was called, and how the horses kind of just gave up. Horrifying. And it hit me double hard because my father owned racehorses back then, so I was around horses a lot, and seeing one die on film, no, not for me. Michael Clark Duncan's character in The Green Mile, it was so awful, I have never seen it. I always change the channel or walk out of the room. I've watched The Green Mile 3 times, but I have never seen his character's death because I know that if I see it, it's going to ruin not my day, but probably my week. Jack Twist, Brokeback Mountain. Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal. You horny homo. Why did you have to follow those strangers in the field and you just got stomped to death? Oh, that's such a tragic movie. And it's beyond fucked up that movie did not win any Oscars for Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Director. I mean, it's insanity to me. But Jake Gyllenhaal's Jack Twist, ugh. You can hear it in my voice. His death scene, and then Heath Ledger coming to terms with it, and then finding his shirt that he kept. Oh, I'm starting to cry. Heath Ledger hugging that shirt gets me every time. Even when I see it on clips. And like, if you watch, go on YouTube and see top death scenes in movies, and Brokeback Mountain inevitably makes most lists. They always play that scene of Heath Ledger hugging the shirt. It just fucking tears me up inside. Excuse me, I need to drink some water here. Oh, God, another one. Littlefoot's mother in Land Before Time. Oh, my God. I'm not sure that I saw a death scene that fucked me up as badly as Littlefoot's mother in Land Before Time. Now, I know I said the first movie to really fuck me up was The Blob, but I was like 2 or 3, and it was a monster. So I got over it, but it stayed with me, but I got over it. Littlefoot's mom dying, I'm 35 years old. I saw that death scene probably 30 years ago. I'm still not okay with it. I still haven't gotten over it. Hilary Swank's character in $1 Million Baby. Oh, Jesus Christ. You know, you're rooting for someone, and she's finally achieving everything she dreamed, and a fucking dirty shot knocks her out, and she falls on her fucking boxing stool, and she's fucking crippled, and her white trash, I mean, stereotypically white trash family. I mean, you gotta say, Clint Eastwood. Say what you will about the man. He is very brazen in his portrayal of types of people in his movies. He's not suave about it at all, and that's not a good thing. But Hilary Swank's death scene, where she's begging to die, to her only adult figure head that she can look up to. Jesus Christ, I'm a fucking mess right now. And what did I think was going to happen? I'm talking about deaths and movies that fucked me up. Of course I'm going to get sad. Bruce Willis character in Armageddon. Did I talk about that one already? If I already talked about it, it bears repeating. For a movie that I loved as a child and a teenager, and watching it now, and you just realize, oh my God, it's such a pile of shit. But Bruce Willis's death scene, God, that messed me up. That stayed with me for a while. I saw Bruce Willis die numerous times in other movies, but this is the one that I would say is his best death scene. Okay, these are the ones that really got me. I've been saving them. E.T. from, E.T. Now, although he didn't actually die, the scene where you find his decaying, pale, disgusting corpse in the ditch, that moment stays with me to this day. Sometimes I have nightmares that involves things from that scene from E.T. I don't know, it just traumatized me to top degree when I saw that as a young boy, but Jesus Christ. And at the same time, Elliot was dying too, because they were connected. Fucking E.T., man. God damn, I love that movie. Iron Man, yeah. We talked about that last week. Out of all the Marvel movies, he by far has the saddest death. But it's also the most heroic, the most brave, so, it's a good payoff. So, although it's sad, you don't feel too bad about it, because it's actually a positive death, if there is such a thing. Oh, Rufio. Oh, fucking Rufio. And Hook. Jesus Christ. That's another one that I saw as a kid that traumatized me so badly. And, as a little older, I can get over it now, but people, I don't think you know how cool Rufio was to young boys when they saw Hook. Every boy wanted to be a Rufio. And when that fucking asshole Hook killed him, and then his dying monologue, fuck me. And I definitely will start crying if I look that up. King Theoden in Lord of the Rings. Now, I'm not sure there's a franchise I've seen more than the Lord of the Rings franchise, and I'm talking extended editions as well. If I added all of them up, I have probably spent over a month of my life doing nothing but watching the Lord of the Rings movies. And in all of that time, I have not watched King Theoden's death scene and not absolutely fallen apart. Funny side note story on this. First time we were watching Return of the King in high school, we were all seniors. And I saw it with about 20 classmates, including my best friends to this day. One of my best friends has an issue with crying. He wants to cry, but he just cannot cry. I've only seen the man cry twice at both of his weddings. I have never seen him cry out of enjoyment, sadness, out of anything. He later told me the closest he ever came to crying in a movie was during King Theoden's death scene in Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. But he said what ruined it for him was he looked over at me and he saw how bad I was crying. And I'm talking bad. He said I had such an ugly face that I looked like a melting candle and I was drooling on myself and I just looked so fucking awful that it ruined the emotion for him and he could not cry. I love it. I love it. I ruined him. Oh, let's see. I think that's... Oh, I forgot. All right, 2 more and I'm done here because I need an emotional break after this. Now, Pixar is just as bad as Disney when it comes to having children's movies grow up really quickly by showing you some tragic deaths. And the 2 that stand out to me, one is very obvious, and that is Ellie's death in the opening moments of the movie Up. I do not think there has been an opening montage in any film in history that has that many ups and downs and then leaves you with the death of a character who never spoke. You never hear her speak. And it's only, a 7-minute opening scene, maybe? Maybe 5 minutes? But is there anything more sad, though, than that montage? Is there? Truly. I challenge anyone that says they have a heart of steel to watch that movie and not have at least one tear leave your eye during the opening montage of Up. If it happens, you're not human. You're from Men in Black. You're an alien from another planet. This is how you know. Last, and thankfully least for this episode on the podcast, is Bing Bong from Inside Out. Now, I can't spend too much time on this because I will sob here. But that movie Inside Out, up to that point, I thoroughly enjoyed Inside Out. But I was saying, it's probably a B+ movie. When she got stuck in that pit, the main character, and she had to get Bing Bong's help to finally escape, and they just couldn't do it. And then you see Bing Bong's face, and he knows what he has to do. And I don't know who's in charge of that at Pixar. I don't know what fucking head writer or producer or whatnot wrote that scene, but I like to shake their hand because holy shit. The design and the character's face. I mean, that's CGI. They had to... Every wrinkle, every crevice in that character's face, everything in its eyes, he knows. He says it without saying it. He knows what he has to do. And he sacrifices himself. And his dying words. I can't even say them. I'm a fucking mess. Jesus Christ, I'm telling you guys, I cry so much when I talk about this shit or think about it. Okay. Well, that's enough about Bing Bong because I told you I can't talk a lot about it, but I need a fucking Kleenex and I need to blow my nose, so let's pause things here while I powder my nose. Alright, I'm back. I had to put a tampon on my vagina because I was crying so much. I'm a fucking pussy. Hey. But no, I did really need to take a quick emotional break there. That's how fucking puss I am. But I will end things here on kind of a sad note. I didn't mean to do this, but one of my favorite Mount Rushmore level of stand-up comedians died, Norm Macdonald. I cannot tell you how influential he was to me growing up, and still to this day. I watched anything and everything that had Norm Macdonald's name or face attached to it. There are countless YouTube clips that if you want to know anything about the man to watch on YouTube, I'm Not Norm is a channel that I frequent quite often. It has almost all of the Norm Macdonald clips from most late night TV shows, his podcast, his interviews, whatever. It came such a shock to me that I thought about taking a day off work to just mourn Norm Macdonald, because I do not think that there is a comedian like him with his deadpan delivery. And I'm not going to psychoanalyze the man's comedy stylings, but it just was one of my favorites. And we lost a legend of comedy. Quite simply, he was a legend. He would be on Mount Rushmore. He'd be up there with the Richard Pryors of the world, Rodney Dangerfield, and I don't know. Well, it'd be hard. Mount Rushmore, to put 4 is going to be incredibly difficult, but he's definitely up there or damn near close to it. So my favorite clips of him was, of course, his Saturday Night Live monologue after he was fired, coming back. I also liked when he was on The View talking about the Clintons' murders and how they were trying to shut him up on live television about it. And just his podcast, his interviews. He has a show on Netflix, and I could keep going and going. Plus the movies. Billy Madison, good God, was he funny in it. So it's very sad. It's very sad. He kept his cancer diagnosis from the public, and it sure seems like the majority of his friends didn't know. If you want to listen to a good podcast with Norm Macdonald, I would say watch the WTF podcast with Mark Maron. It's about an hour and a half. It's well worth it if you're a fan of Norm Macdonald. He also has a couple audiobooks out, and I would implore you to check those out as well if you're a fan or would like to be one. But with that, I think we can wrap up this very sad, sombering podcast. But well, it's not so much bad. It's more somber than anything, but only because we're talking about sad subjects like death. But I want to remind everybody, including myself, that all those death scenes I was talking about were from movies. They were made up. These characters didn't really die. So, anyway, hope I didn't cause any car accidents while people listen to my podcast while driving and they start to cry and then careen off the cliff like they did in Billy Madison. A Doyle rules! On that happy note, I love y'all. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And treat others as you want to be treated. Yeah. Have a latte. Have an ice cream sandwich. Have some Zinfandel. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Get a pedicure. Everyone should get a pedicure. But anyway, see you guys around the bend.
You've been thinking about your mortality a lot lately? Or?
Well, yeah, I mean, you turn 70 and it's you can't run from it.
Ah, fuck, I was hoping you could. You know where I differ from a lot of people? When I...
Really? Really? You're different from a lot of people.
When I have my funeral, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, most of these funerals, crying and sad and everything like that. And that's what I like, you know. I don't want, I've heard of other ones. Let's have a party. Whoa, whoa.
No party.
There'll be a lot of party days later. But right now, I'm dead. I mean, you know, people should be talking, crying.
That, of course, is the late, great Norm Macdonald talking to